Morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yesterday, on this platform, we tried to discuss the issue of what will it take to turn Zimbabwe from a failed state, the pariah state that we are, to a really prosperous nation that the country has the potential to become the Singapore of Africa. On my social media, this video of this gentleman has been circulating, and I think he's saying precisely what we've been trying to say yesterday. And I thought we'll follow it up with further discussion. Let's just listen to what he has to say.
Politicians are liars. Leaders tell the truth. Politicians beg people to get them into office. Leaders are begged by people to enter into office. Politicians worry about the next election. Leaders worry about the progress and the vision of the country. Politicians measure success by material gain that they got from stealing from the public, of course. Leaders measure success by the progress of the country. Politicians are populist in their developmental plans. Leaders do the right thing. Even when people don't see the point presently, they'll see it in the future. Politicians hire people who are incompetent. Politicians hire people who are useless. Politicians surround themselves with people who, with yes men for self-aggrandizement. But leaders surround themselves with people who are even more intelligent than him or her. Leaders surround themselves with people who are even more competent than him or her. Leaders surround themselves with people who are willing to challenge the leader. That's the difference between a politician and a leader. In short, what I'm trying to say is that we have many politicians. We have little to no leaders. We should strive, we as the African race should strive for leadership over politicians. Leadership over politics, and I think that should be the mantra. That should be the hashtag, leadership over politics. I'd rather take a poor politician who happens to be a good leader than a good politician who happens to be a poor leader.
Ben, any comments?
Good day to everybody. One would have thought, this guy is Zimbabwean and he's talking about Zimbabwe. Well, this guy is not Zimbabwean. He's just one of our fellow African brothers out there. I would draw, for Zimbabwe as an example. I believe we have so many politicians. I mean, this is evident with so many candidates that we have in Zimbabwe, all politicians, and none of them leaders. Zimbabwe is a failed state because we all, we have all politicians and none with leadership, none with vision, none with all the credentials that make up good leadership. I think this is where our problem, starts from. And I do agree with my brother, with whatever he said to the T.
Well, I have to add there that I think what he's saying is self-evident. We have a problem with the individuals we call the politicians. I think the difference between a leader and a politician, it could become problematic in the sense that there is no one who could pick up a baby and find when it's newly born baby and find that it's stamped on its backside politician or leader. There's nothing like that. The qualities that make somebody a good leader can be found in anyone. And that person could easily become a politician in the sense that he enters into politics. So I think the emphasis really is what are those qualities that we should be looking for. And I think that is what he's trying to emphasize here. And in my view, he's absolutely right. The main problem we have is we have got people who do not have the vision. In some of the cases, in fact, in the case of Zimbabwe, who do not even have the common sense. Because when you look at somebody like Mnangagwa and his Zanu PF friends, they have become national leaders, and yet they do not even have common sense. When you look at their performance, Zimbabwe, whether we like to admit it or not, the truth of the matter is it was economically prosperous in 1980 when the country gained its independence. The country was already an upper middle income nation. Yes, the wealth of the nation was not being shared fairly, but the country was wealthy. And the last 44 years, the country's economy has all but collapsed. And it is hard to see how anyone could inherit a good thing like that and destroy it and still say that somebody or that group of individuals have any common sense. Of course they don't. What we are lacking in Zimbabwe is a political system that allows us to remove corrupt, incompetent, clueless leaders like Mnangagwa out of office. That has been our biggest problem. So the qualities of leader and politicians and corrupt politicians has been imposed on us. We have been stuck with bad leaders. I think one can say the same thing about the MDC or MDC friends. I don't know whether Ben, you'd want to say something about our MDC friends.
So for MDC Triple C, it's easy if you want to see whether this person or this individual will turn out to be a leader or is just one politician. For the Triple C, particularly, the Chamisa clan, you got to be able to see your candidate before they even take up office, whether they have leadership material or they just, there for whatever they can grab, the politician. This is by scrutinizing. This is by seeing who they are associating themselves with. This is why you find Triple C imploded. He surrounded himself with the criminals. And for sure, we got the end result. This is the mistake that people make when choosing, our leaders, our future leaders. we get too excited and then we choose wrong. I will give you, for example, with the Triple C. Let's go back to the MDC. They failed their mandate long, long back, and they left it to try and now get material wealth for themselves. What was their mandate? To implement change, democratic reform. That was their mandate, and they left that there for the gravy train seats, for the pickings of or the spoils of power. 10 years down the line or 20 years down the line, Nelson Chamisa took over the realms. They were fighting amongst each other for wealth, not for anything, for wealth. And worse off, this is why, they're always these political rallies. So that you get a taste or a glimpse of what this person is all about. And this is not the time for you to be cheering on the nonsense that they are speaking. This is the time for you to be scrutinizing whatever they are saying. And I must say, on many occasions, Nelson Chamisa has been lying, just like any other politician. And for me, if you listen to what this brother has said, these are all red flags. Say this person here will not make up a good leader tomorrow. Rather, he is a politician wanting to amass for themselves. And if we can't see that, then clearly we are going to have another Mugabe from Chamisa. We're going to have another Emerson from Chamisa. We need to look beyond the excitement.
I'll just quickly add there, when you talked of Chamisa lying, this video clip in which he was clearly lying.
Ende patakasangana na Trump akatibvunza naye akomana mari yamuri kuda kuti nyika ifambe imari.
Serious questions were raised about your behaviour in Washington, D.C. You did see some senior people on Capitol Hill, some Congress people, but you also claimed that you'd seen Donald Trump. You claimed you had a conversation with him in which you said he asked you how much you needed to move the country forward. You told him $15 billion, and he said to you that he would provide the money if you won the election. That was not true, was it?
Sangana na Trump akatibvunza naye akomana mari yamuri kuda kuti nyika ifambe imari.
It was not true that you'd seen Donald Trump and that Donald Trump indicated to you that he would provide, if you won the election,
but
$15 billion.
All those statements were said by other people, not what I said.
Akasangana na Trump akatibvunza naye akomana mari yamuri kuda kuti nyika ifambe imari.
Well, no, because there is a video which shows you at a rally in January back home in Zimbabwe saying that Donald Trump had pretty much promised you $15 billion. To be clear, because some people in Zimbabwe are still confused, you're now telling me you did not meet Donald Trump.
We did not.
That is the tragedy of our politicians. They lie, they're incompetent, and in the case of Zanu PF, they've been in power and they've abused their power to oppress the people. Here is Margaret Dongo talking to that very point.
They have wrong priorities, especially the current government. How can you go and build an airport which services a few people, and the majority are the elite and the so-called investors? Look at the rural. I made you come to interview me because I wanted you to have the experience of the roads that we are using. If we go today to our hospital there, you feel pity with that's a hospital in a rural area. If we go to our clinic, you feel pity. We have no piped water here. Do you know the reason why the rural people vote for Zanu PF? One, they're intimidated. Two, the policy is that the rural people should remain poor and subservient to the government. They should remain poor, because if they remain poor, they continue singing the song for their master. This is why these people have been impoverished. It's for a reason. Kuti the moment, if you economic empower these people, they'll go out of hand. Zanu PF will never have control over them.
Not be denied. Then it comes to the issue of how are we going to get rid of these politicians who do not even have common sense in some of these cases. And in the case of Zanu PF, who are tyrannical thugs. That brings us back to the electorate. I think we have got a serious challenge here. These Zanu PF and our opposition members are in power now. They have an invested interest in maintaining the status quo. They do not want Zanu PF, for instance, which is what Margaret Long was emphasizing there, does not want the rule of voters to exercise their democratic right to have a meaningful say in the governance of the country. And I think when you're talking of the rule of voters, Zanu PF has got a captive electorate there. And how are we going to break that mold? That is the biggest serious challenge. In my humble opinion, the best way, the only hope we have of breaking this mold is for the urban voters to realize that we are in a catch-22 situation here. We are not going to end Zanu PF rule by participating in flawed elections. And in most of these cases, for the urban voters, we've been conned by MDC, CCC to participate out of their own greed. The best chance is for the people, the urban voters, to realize that we have got a problem. They should stop participating in these flawed elections to give Zanu PF legitimacy. Last year was a classical example. If the people had not participated in their millions in those flawed elections, I believe SADC would have denied Zanu PF political legitimacy. People participated because they believed Chamisa's lie that he had plugged all the vote-taking loopholes. And if the people are called to participate next year, in 2028, we will give Zanu PF political legitimacy, and thus perpetuate the dictatorship again. So my last word on this issue is, as much as we have got a problem with our politicians, we really need to wake up to the reality that it takes us, the electorate, to make sure that we have got quality leaders, leaders with at least some common sense. And that begins with us, the voters. We need to learn and understand and appreciate what it takes to have a good leader. Thank you very much. Ben, do you want to give your closing remarks?
In closing, I would say, just at independence, one question that was posed was, what if Mugabe fails to deliver on the promises that he has promised to the people? And one person, in that interview got my attention, and he says, I wouldn't want to think, about that. That is practically burying your head in the sand and hopefully, things will just pass through unscathed. That is the problem that we have in Zimbabwe at the moment. We are just hoping things will all of a sudden, like a bolt from the blue, things will miraculously turn to the best for Zimbabwe. Unfortunately, life does not work like that. One has to put in the effort. And what is the effort? The effort has to come from us, the citizens of Zimbabwe, when it comes to making the right choices. They may not be popular now, like what our first video was saying. It may not be the popular stance now, but it is the right. We need to fix the country. The country is broken. The system cannot bring out leaders. The current system cannot bring out proper leadership. The current system is bringing out thugs, murderers, thieves, and so forth. So which means we need to fix that. How do we fix it? The answer was provided for us and is always been provided to us after every election when we are crying foul. You need to reform. You need to reform. You need to reform. That is what SADC has been saying. EU has been, all observer missions have been saying the same thing. It is only us that believe otherwise. And nobody is going to come and help you. No SADC is going to come and help Zimbabwe when they have told you not to do it and you do it still. So we are actually backing the wrong horse and fighting against the horse that is actually helping us. So my last statement would be, as Zimbabweans, we need to stop, doing the wrong thing, the popular wrong thing, and do the right thing. And the right thing is Zimbabwe needs to be fixed. And the only way to fix it is through reforms. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben. I think on that point, I was just going to close with a short video clip of Dr. Nevas Mumba talking about the very thing. We need free, fair, and credible elections. And people must realize that that is what we've got to fight for. To keep on participating in flawed elections because you have been conned into believing idiotic lies like I've plugged all the vote-rigging loopholes. It's just not good enough.
Said to me, Mr. Vice President, go on behalf of SADC, and all I expect from you is to help to give the Zimbabweans a free, fair, and credible election. Those are the only, he said it twice. I need nothing from you, Mr. Vice President, but free, fair, and credible election. You would have done your job. When I was in Zimbabwe, and we were on our way to go and see President Mnangagwa to pay a courtesy call on him, I contacted the president here, President Hakainde Hichilema. I said, Mr. President, we are going to see your colleague. Do you have a word for him? Any greeting, whatever? He said, no, the only thing you tell my colleague is that let's go ahead and give the Zimbabweans a free, fair, and credible election. He repeated the same words. So there was one.
In short, we participated in last year's elections, knowing fully well the process is flawed, knowing fully well that by participating, we're giving Zanu PF legitimacy because we believed Chamisa's idiotic lie that he had plugged all the vote-rigging loopholes. Now we know he had not done so. And I'm hoping that the people of Zimbabwe have learned the lesson so that come 2028, they will not make the same mistake of participating in flawed elections because they believe an idiotic lie that the opposition has devised ways of winning rigged elections. This is the number one message that on this platform we have been emphasizing and will keep on hammering in, because I believe if that message was to get through, we will stop this insanity of participating in flawed elections only to give Zanu PF legitimacy and perpetuating the dictatorship. Thank you very much for those of you who were able to listen to us, and hope you'll join us again tomorrow, same time. Thank you very much, Ben.
Thank you. Good night to all.